Aaron, what is our fourth main topic today?
Our fourth main topic is from Gatton, who says, sometimes I just don't understand the world. You know what, Gatton? Me neither. Andor isn't just the best Star Wars show of all time. It's probably the best show on TV, period. Despite that, I've been reading some reports that the show, while it gets an okay audience size, is nowhere near as big as inferior shows like Obi-Wan. Why do you think this incredible show can't muster up the audience it deserves? Thanks, and may the filthy be with you.
All right, Gatton, thanks a lot for sending that in. Of course, the penultimate episode of season 1 of Andor aired last night. Don't forget, guys, a little bit later today at 3 o'clock Los Angeles time, we're going to be talking about it in a full open spoiler way in our Andor after show. Make sure you guys come back and join us for that. If you haven't seen the episode yet, you got plenty of time between now and then to go get caught up. But, you know, we've been lauding this show like ever since it started. Like this show is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm just constantly pinching myself that this is Star Wars. Like, we've never had this kind of Star Wars. And again, I know I've said this a lot, but every time I watch, it's like, it's hard for me to believe that this is a Disney Plus show because it feels so much like an HBO show. And I mean that all in the best way. But while it's being completely praised across the board, it has not pulled in the ridiculous Star Wars numbers that things like Obi-Wan was able to pull in. And you're right, a completely inferior show. But he has not been able to pull in Star Wars numbers or Obi-Wan numbers or even the Mandalorian numbers or Book of Boba Fett numbers, another show that's completely superior to. And why not? Well, we've talked about that a little bit in general before, about the fact that, well, you know, this one is a totally different new characters that nobody knows about. You know, with Obi-Wan, we know Obi-Wan. With Boba Fett, we know Boba Fett. Mandalorian was Boba Fett to a lot of people. It was a Mandalorian that everybody was excited about. It was the first one under the gate. And it was targeted at families and kids and had the Star Wars adventure. This was a very, very different type of thing. But the folks over at IndieWire, actually, they tackled this question as well. And they actually had a pretty interesting take on this. They said the following. There are plenty of reasons why Andor hasn't found its audience. The Rogue One prequel series features no characters from the original trilogy. TV watchers have been busy with the surfeit of fall blockbusters, and perhaps most significantly, Andor is decidedly not for children. But the paradoxically tempered public response to such stirring Star Wars story can also be explained quite simply. This is what happens when you tarnish a legacy. Andor could very well be paying the price for Disney's decade-long dismantling of the Star Wars brand. The diehard fans will always tune in, but casual moviegoers and TV watchers have been betrayed one too many times. There was the toxic fan response following The Last Jedi and all the behind-scenes turmoil with Solo, not to mention the surge in uninspired oversaturation meant to prop up Disney Plus while turning fan-favorite characters into filler content. Heck, Rogue One itself wasn't exactly met with universal acclaim. All that and a bit more led to this. What stood for decades as a beacon of blockbuster excellence now warrants a healthy dose of skepticism before jumping into hyperspace. They raise a point here about turning this beloved thing into filler content. Now, I remember many years ago, me and Harloff were talking on Jedi Council about the possibility of Star Wars launching TV shows and doing multiple of them a year. And I said at the time, I don't think they'll do it. And obviously they did. But I said, I don't think they do it because the reason I don't think they do it is the more you commoditize it, the less valuable it becomes. And that's exactly what's happened. When you start cranking out, just crank it. Well, you know what? People know Obi-Wan. People just crank out an Obi-Wan series. Everybody loves Boba Fett. You don't have the slightest thing that looks like a good story for Boba Fett. Everybody loves Boba Fett. Just do Boba Fett. The more you just start cranking out for the sake of cranking it out, the lower in value it becomes. Sorry, Joey Bishop is making the weirdest sounds right now. The lower in value it becomes. I've been talking about that with Hulk in the MCU. Like, Hulk was great. Now we've got 5 of them. And Hulks aren't so special anymore. You know, Iron Man was great. Now you literally got 32 characters running around with Iron Man outfits. They ain't so special anymore. I feel the same way about Marvel sometimes. They're just cranking out shows just for the sake of cranking out. Now listen, I love new Marvel shows coming out. I do. And I love that new Star Wars shows are coming out. But when they sacrifice quality for the sake of quantity to boost up their streaming service, then what was an event starts becoming Tuesday. It used to be a big event back in the day when a brand new MCU film was coming out. Now it's, hey guys, 60 days have passed since our last Marvel thing. Where's the next one, right? It's not an event anymore. It's not special anymore. Matter of fact, I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever was the first time in a while that I felt like an MCU property coming out felt like an event. I didn't feel that for Thor: Love and Thunder. But I'm not talking about after watching it. I'm talking before watching it. It felt like, hey, Thor: Love and Thunder's coming out. Cool. But it's been a while. And I think with Star Wars, the same thing is happening. That they just start cranking out so much that it's no longer a valuable thing. It's no longer an event. It's no longer something special. It's one of the reasons why for a lot of years, the Warner Brothers executives, and this is going back a ways, when they wouldn't let Superman in a TV show and they wouldn't let Batman just be used in any TV show, whatever, and was keeping in the movies, is because their rationale at the time was you start throwing Batman in TV shows, all of a sudden it's not as special anymore. Batman's not as special. You lower the value of the character. The more frequent and available something becomes, the less valuable it is. So I think IndieWire has a lot of really interesting insights in this. But again, I honestly think, Rob, the bigger issue than the commoditization of Star Wars stuff, because Obi-Wan did pull in big numbers.
Yeah.
And the Book of Boba Fett did pull in big numbers. So while I think that is absolutely a part of it, I think the other stuff we've talked about before is a little bit more prime. These are unknown characters. It's not made for kids. It doesn't have the space adventure that we love so much about Star Wars. It's something completely different. So there's all that.
Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, you know I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say, it is the perfect time to switch. Since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been spending 1/3 of what I used to spend on my mobile service with the other big name company. And with this buy 3 months, get 3 months free, not only is it a great choice for you, but it makes great gifts for the people you love. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. By going online only and with eSIM and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes those significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a selected device and plan. So guys, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea.
Anyway, Rob, as you look back at this show that I think we all agree is probably the best Star Wars TV there's ever been, why do you think it's not pulling in the numbers of some of the other like inferior product that Star Wars has pulled in?
Because it doesn't give the audience any kind of instant gratification. You know, I really think that the way this story is being told is almost antithetical to what Star Wars is. I mean, if you think about how Star Wars opens, the original movie, camera pans down over Tatooine, boom, Rebel blockade runner comes into frame. It's being attacked by a Star Destroyer. You're like, wow. And then suddenly there's a battle happening. R2 and 3PO are running between the rebels and the stormtroopers flooding into the ship. This doesn't have any of that. And they're looking, what really is interesting is Andor did the Tony Gilroy is doing what George Lucas did. Look back into the past and look at a genre, whether it was the Jedi or the samurai, looking at Kurosawa, Hidden Fortress, things like that. Tony Gilroy is looking into like, okay, Lucas was thinking Flash Gordon. What Tony Gilroy is thinking is resistance. He's looking back to World War II. He's looking back, thinking about movies like Jean-Pierre Melville's Army of Shadows, or thinking about stuff like that, that is also part of Star Wars. It just had never been explored before. So what he's done is he's taken the Star Wars universe. It'd be like, you know, you lived in this part of the city and you never made it over to this part of the city. And he's exploring a part of the universe that we've never looked at before. So Star Wars fans are going, wait, what is this? And I think that the people that are open-minded to it are sitting down, settling in, and taking it for what it is. But there's a lot of people that resist it, and because they just haven't seen it before. And I think this show, they're going to find that when people, they're going to find that people are going to discover this. I especially think over the next month and a half, when it's all out, over Thanksgiving, over the Christmas holiday, there's going to be people who finally settle in that have been kind of like this, and they're going to sit down and they're going to allow it, once it's all there, to flow over them, and they're going to be like, wow.
I heard somebody put it this way: Andor is the Wire of the Star Wars universe.
That's that's exactly.
And it's the perfect analogy for that. I don't know if you still have the image there that was up a moment ago, but am I the only one? And I'm not saying this is what it was, but when Luthen is going to see Saw, and he hands something over to the guard, am I the only one that thought that might have been a lightsaber? Like, again, Jonathan had I don't know if you still have access to that picture, but
I'll bring it up.
Luthen was standing there and he got, they said, oh, turn over. So, you're handing over, but he hands over this thing that looks to me like it could have been a lightsaber.
We know
It did.
he's very,
It did
very
look like it.
Okay, so I'm not the only one that thought that.
He likes Jedi apparel. I mean, you see in his workshop, in his store, there's tons of stuff.
But there's
Holocron
a
things.
thought,
Yeah.
though. There's been a thought going around. Is Luthen one of the final Jedi? Is he a Jedi that's been in hiding since the Purge?
Okay, well, I mean, not to give any spoilers, but the double lightsaber
There it is, right there.
spin of his aircraft.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't a lightsaber. That was just a laser.
But it was
That was a double lightsaber.
that was a big lightsaber blade.
That was
Well,
that
yeah,
was a
I mean,
lightsaber.
Could have been. We don't want to go into, like, you guys don't know what the context is.
Saber or not saber?
But I just think it would be interesting, and I would say this: if he does, and I'm not saying I think it is, but if he does end up being like a former Jedi, I would love it even more that the fact that this show didn't have to be about Luthen running around with his lightsaber and happy. Nope, just straight pan. So it'd be a Jedi without having to have Jedi in the show. You know what I mean? Again, that could be that could be a Billy Club for all I know.
He's just Rick Harrison of the Star Wars universe.
He's Rick Harrison,
Pawn Stars owner.
guy.
Yeah.
Stores. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the best I can do is 5,000 credits. That's the best I can
That's all I
do.
got. Here's the Kyber crystal.
I'm not making any money if I give you any more. than that.
yeah.
So who's his chum Lee? Who's his chum? Anyway, sorry, Chris. Your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, I think this article does a really great job. Y'all should read this Ben Travers article. It does exactly what it needs to do of talking about how we've been burned before as Star Wars fans. And look, there's going to be different things that come out that are going to work for some people, aren't going to work for others. That's the nature of television, right? It's all subjective. But I think enough people did agree that Obi-Wan was lackluster. The Book of Boba Fett was lackluster. And then they didn't want to turn into another prequel kind of thing. One, because in those other shows too, we know the stakes of those characters for the most part. We know what happens to Ben Kenobi. We know what happens to Anakin Skywalker. So you're watching it and going, why am I lingering on this? Why am I watching someone chase Luke Skywalker? I know he doesn't get got. But in this show, we do have actual stakes, even though we know what happens with Andor, right?
Well, the one character.
The one character.
But, yeah.
Everyone else. So it's why we all got so invested in Kino and we're so heartbroken with that one line, right? It's why we are really, really interested in what's going to happen to Bix. Rob most of all. But,
Well, she's going to run.
She's going to
wanted to
run.
help her today.
She's going to run.
I wanted to.
So this show has real stakes. And I just want to read the last part of this article, too, because it just really sums up why people should be watching this. Andor may not have lightsabers, Jedi, or a tiny green alien, but it does wield the force that matters. Passion. And that's what the show has in stakes.
Damn.
Yeah,
Shot.
that's a great. By the way,
in the house.
going back to the whole thing about Luthen's thing, Brad S TV in the live chat pointed something out too. It's like, hey, don't forget what Luthen gave Andor. Gave him a kyber crystal.
Exactly.
Yeah, those things ain't just.
He's got a holocron in his shop, too.
Yeah, he's got Jedi
Two.
holocron.
He's got
in
a
his
Sith and
Yeah.
a Sith and a.
He's got a Sith one and a
Jedi.
Jedi one. So it's a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I think you're right, Rob. I think more people are going to discover this as it goes on when the reputation of how great the show. Hopefully they're able to stick the landing next week. Again, guys, don't forget today at 3:00 Los Angeles time, that's 6 p.m. New York time, we will be doing our live Star Wars Andor open spoiler discussion after show. Make sure you guys come back and join us for that.